That went over real well, huh?
How's that Miami serving you now, son?
That's right, exactly.
You're live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Five Boys in a Business, a podcast where we talk about the business, our family, and the many shenanigans involved. You can check our podcast out every Monday, somewhere around 10:30 or so. And we were off last Monday, but now we're back. So don't forget to check out the podcast channels, or you can check it out on any of the podcast channels, iTunes, Spotify,
Google Podcasts.
the Google Podcasts. And don't forget to check out the merch store, asvcumerch.com. And I'm going to turn it over to Richie so he can introduce our special guest today.
We have two fantastic guests today from Guerin Catholic, Dawn Street and Peggy Gillig. Dawn is she is the Director of Learning Support at Guerin Catholic High School. She is a native of Michigan City, a Ball State grad, mother of five, ages 21 to 10. She's been married for 25 years to Christopher, her college sweetheart. And we have Peggy Gillig, who is the lead teacher at the Wings Academy. She's been married for 27 years this month to Mike, who works at Walgreens as a pharmacy manager. They have three children. Paige, who is 24. She is a Ball State grad with a communications degree looking for work because of COVID-19. Molly, who is 20, is a junior at Purdue studying biochem, planning to go to med school. Jackson, who is 18, undecided on his future, currently works at Take 5 Oil Change on Michigan Road. Peggy is a Butler University grad, and she is Orton Gillingham trained to support language difficulties and uses 3 pathways to help dyslexic students to have a logical and organized way of understanding letters and sounds. Welcome to the podcast, Dawn and Peggy.
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
You can hear the little background of all the clapping.
Yes, I feel it.
I feel the bones.
So, so we're super excited to have you guys here today. I'm super fans of your guys, so I was very excited that you were willing to be on the podcast.
We're excited to be here. Yeah.
So do you want to open it up with some questions?
Well, I mean, kind of maybe give some backstory to our relationship with Guerin. And Harrison, who produces the podcast, is a 2015 grad, and as well as Trevor, who just graduated.
Yes.
With the first student at the Wings Academy. A little bit about the Wings Academy. Why don't you describe the Wings Academy for us?
Okay, sure. Yeah, the Wings Academy was Trevor's the kind of the guinea pig, and so it was started the year that he started as a freshman, and prior to that year, we went in and said, "Please, can this child come to school here?" And Dawn was like, "Yeah, you know what? Let's figure out how to get this done." And Kelly Wilson and James was very, the principal was very helpful at being willing to consider that as an option. And Christine Williams, I mean, there was a handful of you guys that really were like, hey, I think we could make this happen. Now, he's a certificate track student, so I think that also made it a little bit easier to get that done because we didn't have to and I can let them speak to that. But basically, Trevor has a learning disability and would not graduate with a diploma, or based on his IEPs, I had the feeling that that was not going to be something that he would be able to accomplish as a high school student. But yet all my other kids would have the ability to be able to go to Guerin if we wanted them to. And I really wanted that for Trevor. It really made me sad to think that one of the 5 of them would not be able to go. And it was just because who he was. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that shouldn't be that way. And so then we just started brainstorming and talking and developed the Wings Academy. Well, they did.
Right.
Well, I love the idea you said he should be able to come. Everyone should be able to come.
Yeah.
We shouldn't single out somebody because they learn differently or they're not going to have a high school diploma. We're called to serve all of our students, and that's why we were all on board with you.
Yeah. And so it was really cool. It was really cool to watch you guys develop that and be so passionate about it. And of course, Trevor grew up with so many kids that went to Guerin because he went to Our Lady of Grace, and they were all like preschoolers together. And then all the way through, and then to Guerin. So it was really cool. And I think he had an amazing experience. And it was very individualized, which I think Trevor's the type of student that would get missed in a public school system because he's not a troublemaker. He's not smart enough to push himself to be the best he can be, but he's not low enough to attract attention to make people like obligate themselves to him. So Guerin developed this program that basically taught to his strengths and then developed his weaknesses. And it was awesome.
Yeah, he did. I couldn't have been more impressed with how he did there. I mean, the resources that you guys offered It was really a fantastic experience, which culminated recently with his graduation, which was awesome as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so Trevor was a recent grad, and then Holden, our third boy, is a senior, and then Johnny, our fourth boy, is a freshman. And if God help you if Calvin makes it there and brings up the rear, he's in third grade. So
Calvin, he'll get there
He'll get
eventually.
there. He'll
That's
get
distinct
right.
history with Guerin Catholic. We love it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, good. We loved having you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Would love for you to continue. I would love to have that Calvin.
Oh, gosh. Yes, you say that now.
maybe.
I love a challenge.
kidding, I'm
I love a
kidding.
We'll
challenge.
pre-warn you so you can retire ahead of time if that's needed.
I can't. I have one right ahead of him.
That's
so
right.
There'll be no
that's right, that's
retiring.
true.
I'm
There'll
still
be no
there.
retiring. You're exactly right. Yeah. So, okay, Peggy, let's start with you. Tell everybody a little bit about your background, where you went to school, where you grew up, things like that.
I grew up in a small town up north. It's called Rowan, Indiana. So it's in Wabash County. Very small. I went to a high school that was a senior high school, and we had 700 for the whole total.
Okay.
For junior high all the way through. And it was Northfield High School, or senior high school. And it was north of a field.
Yeah.
Just
its
like
name.
it was.
Simple. I love it.
It was also part of the metropolitan of Wabash County. So Southwood, guess what? South of the Woods.
South of
was
the
other
Woods
high
was the
school.
other. Oh, my God, that's hilarious. I love it.
And my parents always wanted me to push myself. We were all going to go to college. I'm the middle of 3 girls, and my older sister is also a teacher. My younger sister runs a business out in Minnesota. She
Okay.
has like 3 corporations together, and so she now is in charge of those.
That's cool.
So they wanted us to further our education because they hadn't, and we all went to Butler.
Oh,
wow.
cool.
That's cool.
And my aunt went there first. So, like, when I went to visit her, I'm like, this is where I'm going if I'm going somewhere. I
Right.
just loved the architecture of the buildings and things. So
Right.
that's what we did.
That's very cool.
But yeah, so that's where I grew up. And then, of course, I was trying to find a job and met my husband when I moved for my first teaching position, and that was over in Rochester, Indiana. Mm-hmm. And he had just moved there 6 months prior, and there really weren't a lot of people, he said, that weren't hadn't like grown up there. Like a lot of people the women that he had to choose from already had families.
Right. Got it.
And he's like, oh yeah. And the apartment complex maintenance people are like, oh, got this person moving in. And so he made up this fib,
Right.
and I had stood someone else up that night, and then we met.
that's
10
cool.
months later, we were married,
There
and
you
be
go.
27 years.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Congratulations.
It's very cool.
So it's just kind of funny, the whole story on how it is. And then we always tease that, yeah, he knew how much he was going to have to devote to my family and how much
Right.
his family. Yeah, it might not happen.
Right, exactly.
But he was the one that was Catholic. So I converted because I was raised with an uncle that was a minister, and it was that you worship together.
Right.
And he, at the time when he was little, had 3 uncles that were priests. So I knew he was not going to leave. And so that eventually led to our marriage in the Catholic Church, and then me to come to Guerin Catholic by way of Dawn Street
There you go.
at a mass.
Well, you're missing part of the story, though. Peggy and I used to coordinate, and we're in charge of Vacation Bible School for almost 400 kids and 125 volunteers.
At Our Lady of Mount
we-
Carmel? Or-
Yes.
yeah,
We
okay.
spearheaded that together. That's really how we met.
Well, we really met when our senior boys were in preschool.
In preschool. Yes, that's true. That's
Oh
true.
my
We really
gosh.
met back in preschool, but we really didn't connect, do a whole lot. And then I volunteered for VBS, and I was in this classroom, and there were some ladies named Peggy Gillig, and I was like, who is this? This is not one of my peeps. Who am I teaching with? Who is
She was concerned. I don't know why.
I was
don't know why.
concerned. And there you have a beautiful, long-lasting, loving friendship.
There you go. Exactly. Okay, Dawn, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Michigan City, Indiana, which is really part of that Chicagoland region.
Right.
We call it the region. I even have the coast posters that say the 219.
The
Love
219.
it.
I remember that.
The 219. And I went to Lutheran school until I went to high school. Then I went to public high school, Michigan City, Elston. We had 2 high schools then. And I always wanted to be a teacher from the age of 7 on. I wanted to be a teacher. So I really looked at all the state schools and decided Ball State was a place for me because they had a nationally ranked program. And I originally started out as a dual major, elementary education and special education. And I just found elementary education to be so boring and not challenging.
Right.
So I dropped that major and went through a K through 12 all subject major for special education, which I wouldn't change it for the world. Absolutely loved that. And I met my husband there. We will be married 25 years on Wednesday.
Oh,
It's our
Ooh,
25th
congratulations.
anniversary. Thank you very much. We have 5 kids, 4 boys. The oldest is a junior in college. Then I have a senior in high school. They're all new grades. I'm trying to think here. A freshman in high school, a 6th grader, and a 4th grader. So, yes, my daughter is the youngest. God bless her. Pray for her daily. She has 4 older brothers. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
It is.
And we've been married for 25 years. I was very drawn to teaching as a whole. My first job was actually in IPS. I loved being a part of that culture and truly making a difference in the lives of kids. So when I had my second son, I decided to stay home for about 13 years. I was home, and I decided to go back to work when my daughter turned 4. I had always done ed consulting, attended case conferences, so I was still in the game a little bit, just in a different perspective. But then I felt I needed to go back to work. I felt called to help kids, and I wasn't sure if the suburban life was for me. I'm going to be really honest. I loved that urban population, and I decided just to apply to Guerin. It was a great opening, and I thought, well, just try it. Maybe you'll love these suburban kids. You never know. You never know. You know, and so I did it, and God always has a better plan because I love my job there.
Yeah.
It's truly what I meant to be doing right now.
No,
Good.
that's very
That's awesome.
cool that
Those
you
are cool
feel that.
stories.
Both feel that way. That's really awesome.
I feel very, very, very called. Very, very called. Like, I go to work every day joyful that I have the opportunity to work in such a beautiful place where faith is the center of what we do with our colleagues and the kids, but just a great environment with these teenagers. I love teenagers. That was my grade. I was never going to teach high school. I was always going to do below high school. Junior high, I loved junior high, loved those kids. But high school, I love them. They're great to work with.
Is
Great
that
kids.
something that everybody's like, no high school kids? Or do people.
It's usually
like,
junior high.
It's usually the junior high, like
yeah.
the adolescents where you're like,
Yeah, and I love them. You know, they're just like big toddlers, and they just need to be loved. They just have all these emotions. They don't know
I
what to
start
do
thinking of
with
our
it.
boys like that, just big
They're
toddlers.
just big toddlers. They
Stop
just,
being a big toddler.
a big toddler. They just have so much going on, and they just really need to be loved and embraced. And if
Yes.
you get past that, you love them, you embrace them, accept who they are. You can teach them anything; they will listen. They
Oh
will.
my gosh. I feel that way about Johnny right now. He's a giant toddler.
I feel like that about Holden.
Just
right
hug them. Just go hug them.
That's what I do. I
Still
just
acts
keep
like a
hugging him.
toddler
I'm
in
like,
so many
Johnny,
ways."
like that cereal bowl and cereal and napkin and milk and the milk you spilled on the floor all aren't going away on their own. Like they're not.
No,
you
this-
have
this
left
morning-
and gone away on
This
your
morning
own.
we
and
had
they
a
have not.
conversation with Johnny. I said, if you get things out, you make something, whatever, just put it away. He goes, I didn't get anything out. I was like, if you do, listen, my boy, listen. Future tense.
A little
If
proactive
it happens-
parenting. Yes.
Oh my
I get it
gosh.
finally. It's like, okay. So-
I started taking my kids' things 2 weeks ago. You leave it out, it's fair
gone.
game. It's going into a bag. I just last night called up to my daughter. Hey, Charlotte, these Birkenstocks. If you'd like to keep them, come get them, or they're going in the Goodwill bin. I'm done. I'm done.
My
picking
boys
them
would be
up.
naked in about a week.
Exactly.
Boxer shorts. I don't care. It's hot out.
It's summer, but it's optional to wear
That's
pants.
exactly what would happen.
Yeah, they'd be like, I don't have any
don't care.
clothes. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I take the electronics too. One of mine right now, Wesley, is looking for his AirPods.
Oh.
Well, when you leave them out and about, I'm just going to take them and put them in the mom has your stuff bag. You want it, do some chores, earn it back.
Oh,
Up
I
your
love
game
it.
if you
Good
want
idea.
it back.
See,
Yep.
and we're repainting part of our house, and so I just put my 18-year-old son on it. But you can paint the bathroom. Maybe you'll take better care of it.
That's right.
Right.
And
Very
last
good.
night he's painting, and he's like, this takes forever. And I said, do you understand now what it takes?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because maybe you'll take better care of it if it took you
And
forever.
his dad was like, "Oh no, he'll be up too late, and he has this and this and this tomorrow." And I'm like, "I don't care.
Welcome to
He knew
adulting.
he
Right.
had
Yes.
it to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was pushing it off. You're not going to go hang with people. Sorry, it's Sunday. I told you no Sunday hangouts, and
Yeah.
That bathroom
you're going to
paint.
paint."
It is fascinating because I think
Yeah.
it was
I
two
like that.
summers ago. I had the kids. They rotated chores. So like these days, so and so was in charge of the basement, and it was hysterical to see that 180. We're like, like Holden's going to Johnny, going, "Will you stop messing up the basement?" Like, yeah, welcome to my world, buddy.
So you like the zones.
Yeah.
Right.
I need to try that perhaps. We just moved our 21-year-old. We moved him from upstairs with us. We have 5 bedrooms, but one of our kids would have to share, and it's just not working. So we moved him down to the basement bedroom, and we just redid this beautiful bathroom. And my husband's like, "This is fabulous," so he can pee all over it.
Right.
It's gonna miss the toilet. It's gonna be a hot mess. I'm like, you know what? He's just gonna clean it. So that's my new goal, is to get him to clean the bathroom. I'm like, you'll clean the frat house bathrooms, no problem.
Yeah.
And they're much worse than mine.
Yeah.
But you won't clean the bathrooms that you mess up every day.
We talked about redoing our bathroom upstairs, or the boys' bathroom. I was like, let's just do all stainless steel and put just a hole in the middle. We'll hold it down at night.
Shower, just right there. Everything just goes down that drain. I
Exactly.
would love that. You know, when you were younger and like you go to your grandma's house and they have those rugs around the toilet.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
No, I
or
want
worse,
one. I
carpet
want
in the
one.
bathroom.
I need a pee-pee rug. If you
We
can pick one
did.
up
We
for
talked
me.
about that. We were like, we need something around
We need
the
something
toilet.
around to catch some of it. I don't mind buying one a month and just tossing it.
Oh, I
But
think
if
we'd
you
be
see
able to
them
go to one a
anywhere-
week.
Oh,
Take it out in the backyard and burn it.
Yes. So now I understand. I laughed at the grandmas and thought they had bad decor. No, they
No,
don't.
they were. It was
They
practical.
were on it. Those
They were
gals
right all
knew.
the time.
Oh gosh, yeah. Different time.
Yeah, boys can destroy bathroom. They can absolutely destroy bathroom.
They do. They do.
Unbelievable.
I don't even like to go in the one that majority of them share. It pains me to go in.
I know.
It's horrible. Everybody's clothes. It's a hamper / bathroom.
Right.
Hamper
Take off your
bathroom.
clothes. It's a hamper bathroom.
Balls.
Convenient. Just leave it all right there. No big deal. Who's
Like
the-
it's not
I didn't
jumping
put-
in the hamper by itself, buddy.
No, don't you love? I didn't put I didn't put my clothes there. Oh, somebody went to your room, stole your clothes, and spread them out in the bathroom. Wow, that's amazing.
Or the kids, Johnny will say things like, "Somebody took my shoes." I'm like, "No one took your shoes, bro.
No,
I have no interest in size 6 shoes. No one does, but you.
no one took them. No one took them.
right.
No one
Somebody
took them.
moved them.
So true.
And then it turns out no one did move them. They're in your closet under clothes.
Under the clothes. That's right. That's right. We had one that we discovered. He had the neatest, most beautiful room. He would make his bed every day. He would want coordinating everything. He'd put a little blanket at the end that coordinated. But we opened his closet
Oh, that was a
at the beginning of
mistake.
summer. Oh my goodness, we could probably clothe half of Africa because there's so much in there and just piles everywhere.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's my Harrison, and I was like, Harrison, what have you been doing with your clothes?
Right.
He just throws them in there, just gets a little load out every now and then. I thought he was rocking it. He was the worst.
Oh, that's hilarious.
What's the best though is when you say clean your room, please, and I'm folding laundry the next day, and I did this shirt yesterday. I did this shirt yesterday. Clean.
Well, it was laying on the floor.
I can't believe you said that. You know what I've had to do? Your kids ever change outfits and they just throw the clothes in the hamper? They don't want to put them back on the hanger, so I can.
Right.
And I was like, oh, if I go through your hamper and any clean clothes, because half of the clothing would be clean.
Yes.
Because they didn't want to put
Put
it
it
away
away.
or fold it or put it on the hanger.
Or they're-
So
yeah.
we started having them bring their own laundry down, sort it, and if I find one clean thing in there, you're in trouble. But we have not mastered it yet, but we're getting there.
Oh gosh.
The one thing
yeah.
we do with it, I think it was the Harrison. I think I finally said, "You got to do your own laundry, man." I mean, and once they start doing
Yeah.
their own laundry, then it's real easy. But then you have the morning, this isn't clean, or they
Right.
it looks like they slept in the car because everything is wrinkled
Yes.
to
in a
pieces.
ball. It was put away in a ball in the,
We
in
look
the
like the
laundry basket.
Ragamuffin family then.
Yes.
Or especially mash shirts, because I was like, hold on, honey, you cannot go. It looks like you wadded it up, because you have
Yes.
to iron it.
Who
otherwise it's
irons
terrible.
them? The
Me.
mashers. Okay.
Me.
Yeah, so all your hard work is just suddenly destroyed with
I
one
need to-
toss.
yeah, I need to
one
teach them how to
toss.
do it.
Yes.
So
Oh, they'll burn themselves. You know they will. Or they'll
Right.
burn their shirt.
now
or-
what'll happen is they'll take and drop the iron on the new carpet, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yes, that's exactly what'll happen.
They will. They will.
So,
Yeah, we don't have one we let iron yet. Maybe Jackson, but that's about it.
Oh gosh, I can't iron. I'm not a fan of ironing.
I'm not a fan, but I would do it for my husband's work shirts.
right.
And then he felt so bad that I would be ironing. And he said, just teach me. He does the ironing now.
Now he does the ironing.
So
Very
mine
clever.
does it as well.
Oh, that's
Because
good.
he's too particular. I didn't iron properly enough for him.
Now, if he doesn't know how to do something, he'll be like, show me. But he wants to learn because he feels bad. He's
Did you
making
ma-
me do
right.
his stuff.
Yeah.
Which I thought, wow.
Hey.
I
Yeah,
used to have
exactly.
iron clothes, but now if I can't fluff and fold in the dryer, I'm out. I don't really want it.
I know, right? That's how I am. I'm
You
like,
can't. I mean, it's funny though because you go to you can't get a shirt. I mean, taking it to the cleaners is the best way.
It is for
I
men.
mean, you just
yes.
can't get it because you can wear it several times if you're careful.
Yes.
You know. So
Yeah.
you
It's
just
a bang
can't
for
get
your
that
buck,
kind of-
really it is.
Really, I mean,
and
for
the
a couple
time,
bucks,
if you
whatever
look
it
at the
is.
time that you put into that,
Right.
it's worth it to go to the cleaners.
Just haven't pressed
Absolutely.
it. So
$2 a shirt. There
$2 or
you go.
$3. It's totally worth it.
Yeah. Okay, so
Anyway, we
I
We
digress.
digress.
has nothing to do with Guerin.
Just a little.
so tell us a little bit about what do we want? What's one of our next questions in regards to?
Well, let's see here. Why did you guys? You've kind of touched on this a little bit, but what about this one? What are some of the experiences that you've had at Guerin that reinforced your decision to work in a Catholic school?
You want to go? You want me to go?
I forget what I wrote.
You know, I think every day to work in an environment where faith is a part of all that you do is such a gift. I really believe that. I've had beautiful faith-driven experiences, and when faith is a part of everything you do, it doesn't seem like work to me.
Right.
It's an amazing thing. And to see kids grow in their faith, that is a gift and a blessing to see. Wouldn't you say we love that the most, really, to watch the kids?
and what I really enjoyed the most was having Trevor and the connections that he made and how he showed others and helped them grow in their faith. Just his faith was
Right.
a witness to many. I mean, he may have known kids from preschool, but even the freshmen knew who he was.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Everybody
Everybody knew
He was a
who
rock star.
was.
What are we going to do without him?
And I'm really afraid for this year
Yeah.
because I don't have Trevor, and so
Yeah.
what are we going to do?
Oh,
Right.
I need that smile every morning, so just you're just gonna have to snap me a picture. Or
There you
Right.
go.
send us
There
a
you go.
picture every day.
That's right.
But having, I mean, he just helped even me grow in
Yes.
my faith.
Yes. I don't think we give kids enough credit when it comes to their faith. They really are great facilitators of their faith, and they're so willing to share it.
Right.
I think that's a beautiful gift. Before I came to Guerin Catholic, I've always taught what we call RCIA for kids at Our Lady of Mount Carmel. I think I'm on my 19th year this year teaching it. And I had an experience as a teacher years ago that taught me to be open to everything kids have to say in regards to their faith. I had 2 little brothers in my class, and they were kind of rambunctious. They were fun, rambunctious, but we were getting a new pope. Remember, we were discerning a new pope.
right, yeah.
And I was trying to go over the hierarchy of the church, and the next week we had a new pope, and I was talking about this pope, and this one little boy kept interrupting me and interrupting me and interrupting me. And I finally said, Bowdy, you cannot keep interrupting me. I really need you to be quiet. I really want to talk about this. So we got back to the classroom, and I said, okay, what did you have to share? He's like, well, I just want to let you know I made a connection, and I want to share it with everybody about the Pope. And I was like, okay, what's your connection? Like, all right, what does this kid have to say, really? He goes, well, before we moved here, when we were in Argentina, he came over our house for dinner. He's like,
What?
I know the Pope. And I was like, oh, Mrs. Street 0, Bowdy 1.
Oh my gosh.
It
That's
was
crazy.
that moment. It was a defining moment that, while I have great things to teach and share, sometimes I need to stop and listen to youth because
Right.
they have great things to share with us that impacts all of our faith. So
Right.
he went on, the whole class and the rest of the class and talked about how he had dinner with the Pope and brought pictures the next week.
Oh, that's
cool.
so cool.
He was like, he wasn't a Pope then, but we know him.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've learned to stop and listen because, like you said, Trevor really enhanced your faith. They have a lot to share. And it's beautiful to be in a faith-based environment. I mean, there are days I'm shocked when I first started. I thought, they actually give me a paycheck. It's like I work at Disney World. It's fabulous.
Well,
I love it.
It just makes you bring a deeper meaning to
Yes.
yourself, even when you're attempting to explain, the Mass, because, our other student was not Catholic. And so just explaining some of those, items that
Well, and the
you know,
impact of faith on her, like she sends us stuff all the time. They were traveling, and she sent Peggy and I pictures of like 3 crosses that she saw on
just
a hill.
down the road.
Just you know, that I saw these when we were traveling, so
And I thought of you.
it's impacted. I
Yeah.
mean, it really
I mean,
impacted
it's
her.
just, it is amazing the things that, you know, I would share. I had to like fully understand it to explain it to them on their level. And we had some pretty deep conversations at times
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
between the two, and it was very eye-opening. And
So
thinking
what
of the
does
way-
what does the school tell families, because we're Catholic, so we didn't have this conversation with them. What do they tell students that aren't Catholic? Like as far as like what they can expect or what
They can
or
expect to
why
go
is
to
it
mass.
a value? Why is it a value to them even if they aren't Catholic?
Because I think we're basically teaching Christian values. You know, Catholics are Christians. They're Christian values, and I think they will learn a lot about themselves, and we welcome everyone. I've had a student who's Hindu. I mean, and my favorite moment is during an all-school mass, looking over and seeing her rocking it out in the choir. And I loved that, singing songs. I mean, I think we impact them in a way that we really show them this is how you treat others in the world, and this is what our faith means to us. So every year at Guerin Catholic, we will have students that will convert because they've been exposed to the faith. I myself am a convert. The reason I'm a convert today is because I had great Catholic faith examples in my life. I went to a parochial school system where we all rode like a junior high bus and got our buses. So a lot of my friends in the neighborhood were Catholic. I grew up going to masses often. One of my friend's brothers was studying to be a priest. So I was, exposed to that environment, and I thought, oh, this is a beautiful faith I'd like to be a part of. And it didn't really go away for me as an adult. When I converted, my mom finally said to me, gosh, you've wanted to be Catholic since you were 7. I'm so glad you're doing this. And she is not Catholic. So I think just that exposure to the church is so good for kids and their families. It's beautiful for their families as well, and we welcome everyone, whatever your faith may be. We welcome everyone. They just need to know, we do attend mass, and that is required.
It is interesting. I think that in our experience, certainly at Our Lady of Grace and at Guerin, I think that it does, that kind of faith and value foundation is so valuable for the kids as they make their way into adulthood, and they can sort through some of the things. I think, certainly with our kids, when you revert back to that base, I think it helps you to make that transition a little bit easier instead of being thrust into some of these situations and events that you might not quite be ready for yet. So I think that's one of the great values of a Catholic education.
It is. And I have to say, one of the greatest gifts you can give your children is faith. Without faith, really, think about it, we are nothing. I mean, that is the greatest gift that you can simply share with your children. And I love sharing it with all of my students to see that I'm faithful. Even the student we gave an example of, the crosses and all that. Now, when she has a dilemma or something comes up, she would stop and pray. When we first had her, she had no interest in praying. So I love to see students rely on faith, because without that, it's so difficult to get through the world. I don't know how people do it. And it's a great gift to give your kids as they embark on adulthood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
First off, we're live on Facebook and Instagram, correct?
Yes.
I want you to know that John King, he is in the chat right now on Instagram, and so is his friend Trace. And John says, "Hey Trace, you want to play Fortnite?" And Trace says, "Yeah, sure." John says, "I'm on." So for whatever reason, they're chatting with each other through the.
Let me know how you both
So
do,
are we
buddy.
losing people to Fortnite, or are we bringing people together?
That's right. Exactly. Oh my God.
But we also have a question from Jan McCracken, aka Grandmom.
Yes.
She says, "Could you describe the purpose and mission of the Academy and what you perceive as the future of the Academy?"
There you go.
Oh, that's you.
You want me to take that? Okay. Really, the purpose and the mission of the Wings Academy, I remember sitting with you all at that table in that conference room, and really I was so struck by the fact that we were not willing to serve all students. Like that is the very person Jesus would be drawn to. How can we select people, and we feel like we are called, by God to really serve all of our students? And it was that profound moment that I was like, oh, we should be. And our staff had kind of been feeling that anyway. So we feel like we are called to serve all students, regardless, meet them where they are. Some, of course, just due to like facilities or things like that, we wouldn't be able to serve everyone who walks through the door, but we try our darn best. It's not what we can't do. It's how can we get where we need to be. That's kind of our philosophy now. What can we do to serve these students? And we feel like it's our calling. We are truly a part of a ministry. And really, to serve that ministry, we do need to look at all of our students and serve everyone. I feel so blessed that we brought the Wings Academy aboard. And it's not really gone. We just don't have a student for the next year. Last year at our open house, we had several very, very interested 7th graders. So I would love if more and more people knew that we do serve, and really it's a program designed to serve students with cognitive disabilities who are not seeking a high school diploma. That's kind of our niche there, what we do. And I feel like some people don't realize we do it. Our partner schools, which I would be referring to like local Catholic schools in our diocese, they don't all serve students in that manner. So it's they're not already ingrained into a Catholic education, and that's difficult for us. That's probably our biggest hurdle we've talked about. So we need to reach more people and let them know what we do. And I feel like we did last year. We made a lot of great connections.
We did.
And then COVID-19 hit.
Yeah.
And it was then COVID-19 hit. But I think people, hopefully the positivity out of COVID-19 in our Wings Academy, I hope that people take a long look at how their children are being served, and is there a better place for them? We have great public schools here in Hamilton County, but could they be better served through a faith-filled environment and more individualized education? Because I personally feel like Mrs. Gillig individualizes more than any other program you're going to find in this area.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not going to find a more individualized program that looks at your child, their strengths, their weaknesses, meets with parents. What can we do to strengthen the student skills, and what do they need to really be a great citizen in our community and be an active part of our community, because that's important to our students as well.
Yeah.
So I probably gave you probably asked for 2 cents and I gave you a quarter, Harrison. Sorry. Or Grandma McCracken.
What do you see? What do you see the future as? Like, what would you like if you were looking in the future and going, and even you, Peggy, too, like saying, "This is what I see for it, or what I want it to be."
I would love to see those feeder schools.
Yes.
Open up programs.
Yeah, I think that's where the deficiency is right now.
It
They
is.
feel like they
I
can't
would
serve 'em.
love to see that, even if it's that I have to go out and do certain things at those to bring them up, to get them into the high school, and we just kind of work together and
I think-
support those kids, because having Trevor last year at the open house was amazing. I cannot tell you how many families. One family stopped and they were like, "Oh yeah, we had to pull our child from this Catholic elementary because they couldn't service." And but they're 3rd graders, so we need to keep the program so that it's there, and they were excited to know that was a possibility at Guerin Catholic.
Right.
And I do think our diocese as a whole is making great strides in those partner schools where they are accepting more students. They're receiving more funding from the local public schools.
Right.
I think we're making strides, but we're not there yet. But we have neighbors, just south of us, Roncalli, and the partner schools that feed into Roncalli, they do have those programs. So we have some great Catholic examples of how it can be done. We can do it. We just have to kind of shift our paradigm a little bit in our perspective and welcome more students.
And I think that was the thing that we saw with Trevor once in Our Lady of Grace. Once he got to first grade, we were like, what do we need to do to keep him in the school?
Oh, right.
And because they didn't have the funds. And so we paid to have an aide there.
Absolutely.
But the school had to be willing to say he can stay here.
Right.
Yes.
And so then once we had him and we were paying for the aide, so we had his own person every day with him, then they were like, well, that's one thing you helped us with, because now we don't have that expense, and they can work with him now. The next year, same thing, the 3rd year, whatever it was, as it got, then they were like, we see the impact of having the student present.
Right.
Yes.
Now we're going to find you money, so you don't have to pay for this all the time.
Right.
And so then they ended up finding funds. They would pay for it give us, like, at first they were like, okay, we'll pay for half the aid. And we're like, that's fine,
Yep, we'll take
and then eventually, I think by the end, they might have paid for the
They're
aid
paying us, actually.
the whole time.
Joking.
Yeah.
I love that. But you have to look at the
But
impact.
it made the impact so they could
The
see
impact
the
is
value.
great. It's
And
real
so
world.
it was just getting the foot in the door.
Yeah.
We
have to do more of that.
And having people, and being as a parent being more forceful about
This is what we want.
why can't this happen? What if I'm paying for it and you don't have to and that you don't have any expense? Then why can't?
Yeah, and I think part of that, you mentioned paradigm shift. I think that's key. Is to
Yes,
say,
we
step
definitely
out of
do.
that comfort
Step out of the
zone
box
Yes.
and think
say,
about
and every
what-
situation's different, but how can we
Yes.
accommodate?
How can we do this? Not we can't. And I love the president of Guerin Catholic, John Atha.
Yeah.
Or I should say Dr. John Atha actually said to me, we were talking about a situation. He was like, no, it's not what we can't do. It's how can we do this?
Right.
And I loved hearing that because, like you said, Trevor's been a bigger blessing to us, and it has greater impact on everyone around him, students, staff, than we've probably given him. I feel like
Yeah.
we were winners
Yeah.
having him there. It was just a great example, but that's how our world functions.
Right.
That's real world. Real world
Right.
is inclusive.
Right.
Real
Right.
world does include everybody.
Yeah.
I personally, as a mom, don't want my kids in a school where everybody's learning and doing the same thing all the time.
Right.
It's okay. And we have to
Right.
let go of, well, didn't make A's and B's and didn't do this. That's not what it's about sometimes.
Right.
It's about being with those peers because that impacts him so much.
Right.
I mean, he wants to be around his peers. We all do.
Right.
We all want to be loved, accepted by the people around us. And so he deserved to have a chance at that. Everyone does.
Yeah. So I think that's if we can get the feeder schools to be more accepting of that, or help them figure out how to be
Yeah,
able
and I
to
think
do it.
if you went to them and said, this just occurred to me when you said that, if you went to them almost with a plan and said, this is something you can build upon, you can use this as a framework to build a program to be more inclusive, that might go a little bit, instead of just saying, hey, we want you to do this, we don't know how you're going to do it, you figure it out.
Right.
Instead,
Yes.
go to them almost with a game plan and say, here, you can deviate to accommodate your needs, but this is how you can make this happen.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that.
I mean, whether it be through foundation fund or whatever, I have no idea. But I mean, there's always a way
Yes,
to figure it out.
there's always a way.
To cover the added expense, like what we had or whatever, all those years ago. So yeah, there's always a solution. That's the way we look at
There's
things.
always a solution. We
just
just
gotta
have to find
find
it.
it.
Yep.
You gotta find it. Now
Keep
Trevor's
looking.
working for a place called Hoosier Landscape, and the guy loves him, and
Of course he does.
Of course
he's
he
doing a
does.
great
We
job,
all love that Trevor.
and he
He's
loves it.
mowing some yards in our neighborhood on his own, and
Yep.
Got his own little business
he's
going.
in demand. He's the people, the neighbors like him a lot. 'Cause
I wish you were my neighborhood. I'd probably hire him over my own boys. I mean, I probably would.
yesterday we
he'd
get
do a
home
better
from
job.
we get home and he did 2 yards, didn't he?
In our own, yeah.
So
You're kidding me.
No, he did 3 yards. Yes.
They were
Oh,
calling.
Okay,
I
you're going to
know.
love this.
Yeah.
I have one, and I won't say who he is, maybe my freshman going into Guerin, who is playing
Maybe,
baseball right now.
hypothetically.
The other day, hypothetically, we'll just put Wesley out there. We'll use his name.
Okay.
So,
We'll call him James.
He might have been named.
not that I have a Wesley. But he gets up in the morning. He has a game at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock for baseball. I wake him up. It's 9 or 10. Oh, certainly early for him. You need to get the yard mowed before you go to your baseball game. I can't mow and play baseball. I'll be sore. Are you kidding me? I
God.
about lost it. I called his dad and said, I just want to let you know, Wesley's unable to mow that yard because he could be sore for baseball. And my husband said, if he's going to be sore for baseball, he is no athlete. He should quit all sports now.
Just quit now.
Just quit
Give
now,
it up.
become a lawnmower. That's
Hang
all.
it up.
That's what you. But he was unable. So to hear that Trevor came home and did 2 neighbor yards and yours.
Yes. I was
After
trying to even
working.
get him out of doing
It's-
our yard. I was like, Holdy, you can do our yard. Just go get it done. You were supposed to do it before you came to Tennessee. You didn't do it.
Yes.
Just go get it done. And he's like, and Trevor's hearing me. And he's like, I'll just tell him I'll do it. Tell him not to do it because I'm going to do it. And I was like, okay.
These
And
poor
Holden's like,
kids.
yes.
I'm like, do you understand that people your age were storming the beaches at Normandy, and you cannot push a lawnmower?
Well, then get
It's
tuckered
75
out a
degree
little
weather.
bit.
It
I
might be
mean,
hard.
it's so hard. I think it took him 3.5 hours. We have 0.54 acres. No, I mean, we're not living on 12 acres or anything. Because it was so hot, he had to take breaks.
Did he have one of those push like the non-motor kind, like scissors?
No, I mean, I didn't even ask him to pull weeds. None of that, because oh my goodness gracious!
Right.
I learned that. That's a whole nother story I learned this summer when you have a weed whack. I mean, my yard was butch for about 2 weeks. But
Way too low.
yeah, I needed Trevor. I would take Trevor, but yeah, it's too hot to mow, and the excuses.
Oh,
You're right. I love that. Storming the beaches of Normandy.
Yep.
We can't even storm the backyard with a mower.
No, we can't.
You can conquer the Germans, but you can't conquer that yard.
Can't do that yard. No.
Oh, God.
That's funny.
So you guys talk about the culture at Guerin and how it, is interwoven into everybody's daily routine and how it permeates multiple facets of how does that start? Like, how is that developed and maintained? How do you feel like, you know what I mean? Like, because it could so easily not be lived every day. So what is occurring there from that, that makes that happen? How does that happen?
I think from the prayers that we do to start each class period. And sometimes those are student led, sometimes they're teacher led. And I also think through the theology classes that they take a total of 8 trimesters. And then just the collaboration in the different groups. The Wings Academy students in those groups really help some students become themselves and to become more Christian-like and to use their God-given talents, not just for our Wing students, but just brought a lot of shock to some different people during Kairos time. I think the Kairos brings a lot of that together too. Just open-ended questions, conversations.
And I think as adults, we have to lead by example as well.
Yep.
I mean, it is very multifaceted, but you hit on all the points. I mean, in everything they do, really, I hear you saying in everything they do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Faith is a big part of who we are.
And when the Wings Academy students thought something was difficult, I'd say, well, it wasn't easy for Jesus to walk those streets, so let's get going.
Let's get going.
She says a nice way. I was like, here's what I say. You ready for this? Brace yourselves, people. Okay. I say, really? That's so difficult for you? Jesus hung on a cross for 3 hours dying with nails in his hand. Poke your palm a little bit. See how that feels. Then we're going to talk about difficulties and your difficult journey. I mean, seriously, people, buck up. We can do this. We've got this.
That's why Trevor liked me better.
I don't know. He loves to live Mrs. Street.
I know.
Gosh, that's
I
hilarious.
like to think that he liked me
You're a
better.
little softer. I'm a little more... All right, kids, this is what we're doing. Yeah, but really.
No, you were softer on the academics.
You were. He would try to.
Yeah.
I was sweeter there. Yes.
Oh, gosh.
He knew. He played us like mom and dad.
Oh,
He
yeah.
did.
Oh,
We didn't
yeah.
play Peggy Gillig.
But we loved it.
We loved every minute of it.
Gosh.
Yeah, because if he didn't get a yes from me, he would go to Peggy. If he didn't get a yes from Peggy, he'd come to me. And then he'd go, well, Mrs. Street said, or Mrs. Gillig said. So, yeah, he was very good. Very smooth.
Very smooth.
Very smooth. Very smooth.
That's an art
we
form
learned
with
to
kids.
use
It is an art
Absolute
form.
art form.
We used
It is an art form.
learn to use the telephone or to email or
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
send the message.
But I just think as whole, Guerin Catholic is a kinder, gentler environment for kids because we do live out our faith.
Right.
Now, does it happen 100% of the time? No, we're just like any other school.
Sure.
Things happen, but we do. That's kind of how we lead. I truly believe, Mother Theodore Guerin says you have to love the children first before you teach them. That's what we do. You have to love them first, then you can teach them. If you haven't loved them, you're not even going to get to the teaching part.
Right.
That's what you have to do. And I think all of our staff does that. It's a beautiful staff that really is focused on doing the best thing they can for kids and helping kids learn.
I would think that you would get, as a staff member, you would get weeded out because it would be you're really being more emotionally invested, and it would be tiring. If it wasn't something that you really wanted to do, you would naturally probably be weeded out because you just couldn't.
You could not. It would be
you
tiring.
couldn't fake
just like
it. You couldn't
said.
maintain it.
Yes.
You couldn't. Yeah.
But I'm energized by that. Like that keeps me going. And if that's, that's your place and that's what you're called to be a part of this ministry, you don't feel taxed. You feel like it's a gift every day.
Right.
I think that collective, I was thinking about this with Harrison and certainly with Trevor and Holden, most recently with Holden, the kids that come out of Guerin and certainly the parochial system, by and large, they just have a calmness about them that that's more adult and kind of grounded. You know what I mean? It's like I don't get the sense that they're concerned or bothered by things that you might be bothered by as a typical teenager, the pressures and things like that. They just seem way more grounded.
Yeah,
for
there's a
whatever
great
reason.
sense of humility
Right.
in our kids. A great sense of humility.
So, what do you think, Harry? Did you have a sense of humility? As he waves us off.
Yeah, exactly.
Proceed.
I can't. I don't know what to say. Oh gosh. Yeah.
We were laughing. We were talking about how intelligent the kids are. Your Pope story, and I remember with Calvin. I think it was last year, it was either last year or first grade. I picked him up from school, and I remember it was a mass day because he had his shirt sans tie because the tie goes bye as soon as they get out of the chapel, and he was leaning over the front seat. We were driving past the line to get out, and he points to the house where the priest lived. And he goes, "Dad, you want to know who lives there?" I said, "Who, buddy?" He goes, "God."
Oh.
I was like, maybe, maybe, who knows?
God is everywhere.
God is everywhere.
He is
That's right.
correct.
Exactly. Oh god.
That's very cute.
So,
I think it also helps to have the Dominican sisters at
right.
Guerin Catholic High
yes.
School. I think that they are a true testimony to the students and to, help them through various
Oh, I'm sure.
They're beautiful presence.
teenage,
They really are.
Stuff.
the Hollands had a lot of good conversations with them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We had a student at Our Lady Mount Carmel this year who just joined the church, and it was COVID-19 when we did it. It was June. I mean, we're just opening to having the sacraments. It was kind of a difficult time, I would say, with seating and whatnot, and we were packed to the gills. And this group of Guerin kids came in to support a student that was converting.
Oh,
And I thought, that is so beautiful.
Sure.
To have them come and support one another. And it was kids I would not have expected, all of them.
Right.
And it was beautiful to see
that's
that they're
cool.
very supportive in the faith journey of each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was great to see that.
That's cool.
Really great.
And I was with Trevor in a theology class and a history class, and both were taught by sisters, which was interesting. But there was one student that was converting, and she was so excited to be baptized.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then she would talk to both sisters back-to-back classes, and it would be like, what's going to happen if we have to go home? What's going to happen? Will I be baptized? And so she was really I turned mine off.
It's the people.
But it really was just to watch her excitement
Right.
for baptism, and then to go on and join the church.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was fun to see the kids.
Yeah, there was a nice group of them this year. A nice group.
So,
Was that Wesley?
No, it was Maxwell.
is that his ringtone?
No, it's just it was Maxwell. I'm like, seriously, I told you all I was busy. If you're not bleeding or it's not broken, I mean, it can wait.
Right.
Sorry, I
Not
forgot.
really. It's important to them.
That's true. That's true.
Oh gosh. So were you guys sad to hear that we won't have a priest on campus? Is that a thing? Is that
Sad I would say is putting it lightly.
okay? Because your face is like.
Are you glad? What's up?
I do support our bishop, but I know he's had a tremendous time making decisions and where to place everyone. That has to be difficult. But I think I personally will miss having a chaplain there. And I think it's been such a gift to our kids to have the sacraments readily available.
Yeah.
Right there at school. And I would certainly prefer to have one. I do think our diocese is looking on how to do a beautiful job and still serve our kids.
Right.
Oh sure.
In
yeah.
that component. And the good news is, I mean, they'll get to meet a variety of different priests and make some connections.
Right.
Which, as a mom, I do like that, but I did enjoy having a chaplain there. That was such a gift.
Yeah.
To be able to have a chaplain. And I do pray daily that eventually we can have one back again.
It's just strictly population, like numbers problem.
I think it's just a numbers. It's just a numbers thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trying to serve everyone.
Yeah, it seems like a recurring theme. I mean, in recent years. In
Yes,
terms of
it's not
a
just us.
shortage. Yeah.
There's a
Across the
shortage of
board.
priests. So you all have 5 boys. Pick one.
Right.
I tried to each one of them. I was like, "Oh, you're going to be a priest, aren't you?" Who was that? I seen that too. Oh, Johnny, probably.
Yeah. I
but-
say that to my 4 boys. Like, okay, one
Yeah.
of you. Back in the day, that second son would be there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, and then
what?
Holden
Right.
for a while. Holden has had great conversations, even with Harrison, about Catholicism and everything. And he's very adamant about what he knows. Don't you think, Harrison?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes.
Yes. He's very like if you're Catholic, you're Catholic, kind of a thing. And he knows way more than I've ever known.
I mean,
You know it. He's just digging it.
No,
Right.
he knows.
No, he did a good job.
Wow.
We had a conversation in the kitchen one night about the tenets of the faith and how it's you shouldn't really pick and choose, because if you're picking and choosing, then you're really not adhering to the faith.
No,
You're saying,
but don't they say like cafeteria Catholic?
it's like, well, if you don't believe this and this, that's okay, but you shouldn't be Catholic. You should be something else. I mean, that would adhere to that. And I thought he did a good job of
explaining that,
of talking about it and saying that it's strict adherence is important. I mean, these tenets are there for a reason. So it's interesting to hear someone of his age, understand those issues and being able to articulate them in a way that was very adult-like, I thought.
Do you
way
think
better than I did.
Catholic education has helped form that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
What did you say, Harrison?
I said, oh yeah. I mean, ever since I left Guerin, I've kind of questioned the Catholic faith more and more. And so one night I was talking to him about it, like we were getting in a serious, like, I wouldn't say debate, but it was more like a conversation. And it was like he was like, yeah, the magisterium, it says right here. I was like,
Exactly. I mean, he's like, legit.
Wow,
I was like,
I love
you're going to be a
that.
priest, aren't you? And he was like, I'm not going to be a priest, Mom. I want to get married. And I was like, okay.
I hear God knocking. For
I
that.
know,
You
yeah.
hear the knock?
I'll be a deacon.
That's true. That's
Gosh.
true.
But and even Harrison, when he was in school, I mean, like, I would go to them to ask them. I mean, they did know the information.
They do.
And when we grew up and we went to, CCD is what you called it back then. We were growing up Catholic. I mean, you went and you learned whatever you learned, but we didn't learn it like this. Like,
You can't though an hour a week. I mean,
it is like they learn about the Catholic faith.
Well, and they're not just learning it; they're learning, they're living it.
Yeah.
Right.
They're doing it every day at school. It's a part of who they are. I mean, as a student there. So I think that piece, yes, you can hear it in the classroom, but when you live your faith and you actually go to the chapel with your teachers and you actually have opportunities to serve, to live that life that Jesus calls us to live. Mm-hmm. I think that makes a huge impact on our students.
I think too, and we've had this conversation before. I think Catholic education is the best source for members of the Catholic faith to remain members of the Catholic faith.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes the emphasis isn't strong enough on that to support those schools and to make sure that you fill them up as much as possible.
Yes.
Because really, I mean, for sure with our kids, I mean, it's like we're talking about with Holden. I mean, that's how I think you get them to stay in that faith, to really ingrain that in that belief system and that faith system in them.
Yeah, you just can't talk the talk. You have to walk the walk.
Right.
And when they have opportunities to do that, it does grow. There's like a little flame inside of them.
Right.
Sometimes that flame is, huge, and sometimes it's just like your little pilot light. You just see a little one, but it's still there.
Right.
And all humans go through those patterns. I would say even with my oldest now being in college, does he go to mass as much as he did? Probably not as much, but that faith is still a big part of who he is. And we were just having a conversation the other day about having kids in the Catholic schools, and he was like, of course they're going to go to Catholic schools. Why wouldn't I send them to a Catholic school?
Right.
I mean, so I loved hearing that. I get the little glimpses of, okay, it's still there. It's still rooted in who you are.
Right.
I love to see that.
Right. That's awesome.
And my daughter at Purdue, she goes every week.
Yeah.
Every week. In fact, she met her boyfriend at mass.
There you go.
I kept telling Jackson, that's where you meet the women. The
That's
good girls are at
Go,
mass. Go
go.
to mass.
That's right. Exactly. You hear that all the time. I don't know where to meet people.
But
Yeah.
St. Tom's, she was devastated at the COVID-19 breakout, and her mission trip over spring break was canceled. It was just the whole thing has been devastating to her, and then not being able and having her favorite priest at St. Tom's being moved.
Yeah.
She's like, who are we gonna get? He was awesome. He knew all of us. He'd have you stand up if you were new. He'd have birthday celebrations. He wore his Purdue Crocs after they won.
Right.
Yeah.
He goes, he really made an impact with the students.
Yeah.
And so she's a little fearful of that, but
Sure.
Change is hard.
it
Change
is.
hard.
It is.
Stop it.
You should answer the phone. You're on speaker.
You're on speaker. Welcome
You're on
to the
podcast.
podcast,
What can we do
Maxwell.
for you?
Stop, Maxwell.
We did that one time because somebody would not stop calling us. And
was it?
finally, we just answered the phone.
Oh, it
I'm
was the
about
kids,
to be
wasn't
like,
it?
what, Maxwell?
Oh my god, I don't remember who it was. I don't remember. Either Johnny or Holden, one of the two of
It's
them.
like, where's my bag? I don't know, bro. I'm not there.
Right where you
Where's
left
my
it.
bag?
Well,
If you put it in the spot.
Let's risk examine that. Your bag, which is not my bag.
oh gosh. Okay, so we should probably wrap up our time. We want to thank you guys for
Yes,
hanging
thank
out
you
with
so
us.
much.
But before we leave, we have one question.
We ask all of our guests this question, and I'll just pose it to you both collectively. If you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell them?
Trust yourself, and you only live once, so lead by example and support others.
I like it.
Not sure I did a lot of my faith at 20,
Right.
showing others my faith.
You know, that's
Yeah.
interesting because in the graduation ceremony, when Father John, right, was talking, he said, you have more information. You've been taught more information and you've had more theology. You're going to think you don't know anything, but you actually know more than anybody that you're having a conversation with.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to have the
Yep.
conversation.
But that
And
yeah,
so-
trust and
Yeah.
and leading
Right.
by example. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I tell, I think I would have told my 20-year-old self to be more faithful, honestly, because that's a time in your life where you tend to be more egocentric,
Right.
and you've got this, you know it all, but
Yeah.
really you don't.
I don't
Right.
think that I thought I knew it all at 20, but you know.
Well, 20 years, we're just fearless, you know.
Uh-huh.
We're like
Well,
I'm 20.
like a
I'm just fearless.
I was probably more afraid. Like afraid to show who I was, afraid to go out
To be yourself
and-
more, maybe.
Yeah.
Be yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's why trust and yeah.
I think I would have had, well, I still had faith and practice at 20. I would have had a deeper sense of faith. And I could have impacted more people that I was around. I didn't really share it as much as I should have.
Yeah.
I could have impacted and helped more, and I did not.
I get that.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, you guys are awesome. You
Thanks for having us.
You know, we're big super fans. So
I
we
love
got
you have
being
gift bag
here.
time.
a little gift bag for you guys.
Gift bags. We
There you
need
go.
gift bags.
Okay, so this is just a thank you note, and then some ASVC merch, some socks.
Does
there.
Harrison do this?
Yeah,
Harrison, I'm impressed.
there you go. And there's a
Very
Harrison
nice.
has many talents.
Okay, I should give you the poop bag back because my dog doesn't go poo-poo on walks. But we'll keep it. Maybe my kids will.
No, you know Wesley
Because
needs
I'm
it to
a
clean up the yard.
responsible homeowner who takes your potty before we walk
Oh, there you go. Good job.
because it's
So-
not
Good
really.
your kids go if you're ever in an emergency.
It's not really that. No. Let's put this on your backpack for college.
a real emergency.
Click on there.
Oh,
Yes.
God,
Or
that's
you know, you feel
hilarious.
maybe I just see in the car. You feel
There
a
you
little
go.
nauseous. I've got a bag
I got
for
a
you.
bag. There, we talked about
Well,
that.
that
No worries.
Peggys
I have a
bag,
car
right?
sick one. No worries. No
Oh,
worries. Yeah, that
gosh.
would be good. Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
That's very, very sweet.
And-
I hope we did what we needed to do for
Oh,
you.
absolutely.
Oh my gosh,
Because I'm a
absolutely.
little nutty on a podcast.
No,
like,
I
just
love
kinda,
it. I like it.
I tried to be more reserved.
No, your nutty is good. It's good.
Peggy and I are a good
So
team.
no, thanks for spending time
Yeah,
with us
thanks
on
so much.
Monday. On a Monday.
Thank
and
you.
taking time
We
away from your
enjoyed
day.
it. It was great.
So-
I'm glad we could figure this out before school.
Okay.
Really glad.
Good. All right, everybody.
All right.
We'll wrap up the Five Boys in a Business podcast here. You can catch us every Monday around 10:30. Don't forget to check out the merch store at asvcmerch.com. And you can catch us on all the podcast channels. I'm Emily King.
And I'm Richie King.
And
Dawn Street.
Peggy Gillig.
we'll see you next time on Five Boys in a Business.
We're out.
Bye. Thanks. So